Fellow Falcoholics, welcome to the Falcoholic Lives Falcons vs. Vikings Week 2 postgame show. I'm your host, Kevin Knight, here with my co-host, Allen Strk. We are going to be getting into the big Falcons dub tonight. First win of the season. Falcons now 1-1 after a dominant victory, Allen. It didn't feel dominant. Like, I felt uncomfortable until I'll be honest, they didn't. I wasn't uncomfortable after like 3 minutes, like 3 minutes to go in the game. But before that, it still felt very uncomfortable. But the truth is, the Falcons dominated every aspect of this game, so that's nice.
Maybe commanding is a better word. Big commanding. Like it could be dominant if it just had to be some self-inflicted mistakes. And look, we are definitely not going to start this episode by harping on the negativity, whether it's the red zone issues or Drake London's fumble. We are not harping on that because, listen. Falcons generate a ton of pressure for the first time in years. I can't recall a game where a rookie class, everyone made an impact who they were counting on. I thought the offensive line stepped up huge. Like, look, people could talk about the Vikings being banged up. No doubt they're missing Derishaw. No doubt the Addison suspended. But and I think Van Ginkel and Cashman, they're missing defensively. But still, that roster is loaded. They are built to contend. Yeah. I know. Look, obviously the quarterback got riled, but there's no denying how great O'Connell and Flores is. Like, this is a team that is very dangerous, and let's not forget what they did to the Falcons last year. So the Falcons have really set the tone, and you just look at the speed they're playing with defense. Like, you look at what Jeff Ulbrich is bringing to the table. Who people are going to talk about Zac Robinson. Look, we definitely have our critiques about, but Jeff Ulbrich, outside that late first half, a little bit of a botch there, playing cover 2 and having Xavier Watts cover Jefferson. I thought Jeff Ulbrich was a masterclass. So
yeah,
a lot of great things to take away. But this Falcons defense, I'm not saying look they're here and everything, but it's the first time in some time they've had a real commanding performance against a team that you have to respect.
Yeah. It was a great performance. Like, I mean, yes, we have our quibbles. Like, we really yes, we need to see better from Zac Robinson, but ultimately the Falcons were able to make it work. And that is nice. Like, that is nice to see that you get credit for making it work. It's not going to work against everyone. And, sooner or later that stuff's going to come back and bite you, but it didn't bite you tonight. And look, what I said on the preview show was like, you just got to find a way to steal a win. Like, it doesn't have to be pretty, doesn't have to be nice, doesn't have to look good, doesn't have to look clean. The Vikings make a lot of offenses look ugly, right? With how aggressive they are. It just gets to people. And it was definitely getting to the Falcons and Zac Robinson. But the one thing that did work all night was the run game, and especially Bijan Robinson, who just took, the Vikings were selling out to stop the run for the majority of the game. And it didn't really matter because Bijan Robinson is special. So
I wonder how many yards he had after contact. Like, there was one play, literally, he was running over a defender's backside, and like his legs were just churning in the air. Like, his contact bounce. Like, you could rave about his vision, his patience, his pacing. Like, everything just seemed to flow. But when he got a crease, it's like he just made someone miss every single time. And
yeah,
this may have been Bijan's best game ever. Like, I don't think that's exaggerated because just the level of opponent and the way the passing game really wasn't flowing outside of a couple nice ones from Kyle Pitts. By the way, you gotta be a little bit thrilled about Kyle Pitts so far. Tell me not. He has not looked this explosive in years.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously the game script didn't really involve him, but he looks really good. Like, I mean, he looks like a legitimate receiving threat. Like, I think in game scripts, hopefully where Penix has got a little bit more time, I think he's moved into that third target role in this offense, which, I mean, they really needed it. He became kind of the second target last week without Mooney. So with Drake London and Darnell Mooney still kind of coming back, Drake's obviously hurting a little bit. And Mooney hasn't been on the practice field except for like a couple days now. So those guys are going to take a minute to come back to full power. But Pitts is being that he's being like the full tight end we need him to be. I mean, as a blocker, like, again, he's still not like amazing, but he's not been a liability out there. Like,
he got Dallas Turner tonight one play where I think Algier. By the way, shout out to Algier too. I thought Algier has some moments as well. I think look, when the Falcons running game's thriving, Algier is going to be involved. But I thought Pitts, even on the outside, like, I think maybe this matchup benefits him a little more because his Vikings defense isn't that big, but still they're just so aggressive and they fly the ball. So I thought Pitts was in good position. I thought Charlie Warner played a lot better too. Ryan Newsel, several blocks. Whether it was reaching or sealing, like, it was just like, as much as Bijan was great, you have to give credit to the Falcons. That, to me, they owned the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, this was a really impressive win. There's no way around it. And we're going to get to all that, guys. We're going to talk about the rookies, some fantastic performances from basically the entire rookie class tonight. Everyone that was active, more or less. And the defense absolutely balled out. The O-line, I think, took a step forward. This is a tough matchup. The Vikings are very exotic with their fronts. The Falcons had trouble with some of the stunts. I mean, this is one of those teams where they are exotic and relentless with how they attack the quarterback, and that was certainly happening tonight, but they managed to weather it and keep, Penix took some sacks. I think there's the biggest criticism is probably that I think this was the perfect game to utilize play action, and we didn't see it at all. And I get that they're afraid of the rush getting there too quick for the play action, but you're just, it's probably the main takeaway I have from this is like, this is an offense that has to lean on that more, and we just didn't see it tonight. Thankfully, they didn't really need it. Like at the end of the day, like when the defense plays this good and you allow 6 points, like you can get away with a lot. You don't have to be good on offense. You just need to grind down, create some turnovers, and kick field goals, which is basically what the Falcons did until the end of the game. But like just off a field goal, I mean, this was basically like the inverse of the Steelers Week 1 game last year, except the Falcons actually kind of ran away with it at the end and looked way more dominant than either of the teams in that game. But kind of a death by field goal situation until the very end. So shout out to them for gutting it out. I mean, I haven't seen like the Falcons win this type of game in so long, where they just win with defense and physicality. Like that, I don't remember seeing this anytime recently.
Yeah, and let's emphasize against a very good team. Like this is a Vikings team won 14 games last year, and you talk about making field goals. The Falcons had a kicker out there that made field goals, and I will stand corrected. I couldn't have been more wrong. I thought Raheem Morris wouldn't have pulled the plug on Young Ueku just because I think Raheem Morris has a tendency to be he gives this guy's extra chance or two here and there, but he's been very decisive this year, putting both Bowman Jr. and Watson to the starting lineup, and now look at this replacement. He got a lot of his personnel choices wrong last year. So far, he's singing out the park. Say what you want about Raheem Morris, but the decision to go with John Parker Romo was a game changer.
Yeah, that was a huge one. And, Romo, maybe a little shaky on the first kick, but after that, seemed, I mean, that's normal. That's normal. It is so
in Minnesota too.
So it's, good. He got it in. It was fine. At least it didn't hit the upright. Sorry, not trying to twist the knife on Ku here, but
and let's also give credit to that Vikings crowd. Good Lord, we need more primetime games in Minnesota. Like that crowd,
they were crazy. Insane. Yeah. Like the Falcons were sloppy, and Zac Robinson was not getting the call in the right time. Like with that much noise, you have to give them like 15 seconds to communicate it to everybody, because you can't just yell it. I mean, but yeah, I mean, it was also like, I mean, that there's a reason this place is known as one of the most difficult stadiums to go win in. If you're the opposing team, I mean, there's no doubt about it. So shout out to Vikings fans for giving the Falcons hell. I mean, I certainly didn't appreciate it, and I'm sure the Falcons didn't either, but they were trying their damnedest to get Minnesota a win today. So props to those guys. But yeah, we got a whole bunch of donations and questions, including one that came in just before the show. So let me get to some of these real quick. I know we had Michael Hernandez early before the show with the $20. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate you, man. Saying there may be a lot to be critical over, but it's a double-digit primetime win. I think our fan base has to allow themselves to celebrate this one. Absolutely right there. No argument for me, Michael. Thanks for the dono. We got Machine Learning Brilliance. Nice, with the $5 saying Raheem and Zach need to go. We can rule the NFC with an HC and OC who at least pretend to try. Well,
not be mean.
I'm not going to call for any firings after a win. All right, let's maybe calm down. I agree that there's definitely some things that we have to talk about with Zac Robinson, but this is also how the Falcons started last year, if you guys remember. Like they were very anemic offensively the first 2 weeks. Now the second game was better. Significantly better.
This one was way more convincing. They need a Saquon Barkley drop to win this one.
Yeah.
To me, this win is, and I was at the Eagles game last year. I covered it, but to me, this is, I think, 30 times more impactful.
Yeah, I mean, it's any way you can beat the Eagles is kind of like great because, I mean, they won the Super Bowl, right? But yeah, this was much more convincing. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was saying, I think, were the Eagles missing A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith? I think it was
one of them. Yeah, I don't remember which one.
I should know since I was there, but I think just how convincing this win was. Like, if you want to say dominant, fine, but just we've been talking for years how the Falcons always tend to lose against the best teams in the trenches, and to see them winning in the trenches and just getting contributions all across the defensive line. Like Onyemata quietly had a really good game. Like to me, the Vikings' inefficiency running the ball. I think Jordan Mason had some moments. Because I think Jordan Mason has some pop, but I thought Onyemata really controlled line of scrimmage. Laquel London had some moments, and Rook bounced back. Like Rook was getting after it too. And Zach Harrison. So. Like I think when you look at the biggest takeaways is like the rookie class and how the Falcons did well in the trenches. I think it's the two biggest takeaways, and that's just something you didn't quite see against the Eagles last year.
Yeah, I agree. It felt more like a full team win. Like, and I think the defense really, like, just dominated. I mean, like, it was so different than any other defense I've seen, and so like the polar opposite of Jimmy Lake's defense. And like, this was just everyone who said the Falcons, and this was something that I said, and I think maybe you were on this too, like Alan, where it's like, there's no reason for every single player on this Falcons defense that was here with Ryan Nielsen to just suddenly get worse. Like, it doesn't happen like that. Some guys will regress and some guys will improve. That's typical. But everyone looked worse last year. And when that happens, we know what the answer is. We know what the reason is. It's coaching. And it couldn't be any more clear that the personnel on this defense was not that bad last year. Now, there were still improvements to be made, clearly, and we saw a lot of the improvements tonight. But, like, I mean, some of these players that were huge contributors tonight just didn't get a chance to see the field last year either. So, you know, shout out to
Zach Harrison. He's played a lot of offense.
Yeah, and it's like, just top to bottom, I think Jeff Ulbrich has a better handle on this personnel and how to use them. And like Nate Ali, like, shout out. Like, the Falcons didn't get any development from the D-line last year. Nate Ali's been here like 6 months, and it's like day and night. And, you know, props. Just shout out to those guys. I think those guys are the two biggest contributors on the coaching side to the Falcons' success so far.
Yeah. At one point last year, I think the Falcons had like 8 defensive linemen on the roster who were 28 years old or older. Like, you had your Kadavius Streeter. I think is on the practice squad, but he was getting too many reps. And then you even had like a Eddie Goldman, for instance, who was decent, but like these guys weren't making a huge impact and giving too many snaps to Judon. So it's like now you have a whole infusion of youth with the veteran presence of Onyemata and Leonard Floyd, who very active tonight as well. Leonard Floyd, I thought he held up well against the run, and he just be one of those guys that is getting like the cleanup sacks, being active, just being a nuisance. And I think Leonard Floyd's just a good guy to get 20 or 30 snaps as Jalen Walker and James Pierce find their feet.
Yeah, exactly. I think the big thing with Floyd is like we can't really depend on him to play like a starting role where he's out there all the time. Like, but the Falcons haven't asked him to do that. Like, so I think the role he's playing now is perfect, where he can come out on third downs and be fresh. Like, I think the nice thing is all these edge rushers can be fresh. They've got a deep rotation. Every one of these guys, Jalen Walker, shout out to him, like, really nice sack. You could see the movement skills there where he's kind of able to get the bend and like re-center himself like a linebacker and get back in there and make the sack. You know, that's not easy to do. Like, after you get that bend, it's really hard to turn the arc the rest of the way and like flatten out correctly. And I think Walker really showed off just how flexible he is and the kind of lower body control that he has to be able to dip under, reset, and sort of straight line back to the quarterback. So, you know, Walker's going to come on a little slower than the rest of these guys, but it was really nice to see him in a critical moment come away with a sack like that.
It's a fantastic breakdown. And I think it was just encouraging to see him actually getting those type of snaps. So I thought against Tampa, they were spot dropping a bit too much. Like, he had some pass rushing reps, but I felt like they didn't really utilize him enough. It just seemed like he was someone they were dropping to coverage and maybe spy Baker a little bit. But tonight we actually saw him get unleashed a little bit along with Pierce Jr. and the rest of them. So having this type of defensive line depth, it's been a long time coming. I feel like the Falcons haven't had since 2017, which I think was the last time they had 40 sacks. That's when Tack was in his rookie year. Beasley was going off the big year. You had guys like Claiborne, Reed, Courtney Upshaw, and then obviously it's on Terry Poe and Gray J. Like, the Falcons defensive line, they didn't have a guy that could take over a game, but they had like these 7-8 guys that were like strong veterans or emerging players at that time.
Yeah,
that really contributed. So the Falcons got something like this, but I just think now this group is even younger with the collection of talent. So I think the potential is greater. And you have a defense coordinator like, man, Jeff Ulbrich. Just the way he's utilizing both Devon Diablo and Billy Bowman as blitzers, I think caused J.J. McCarthy a lot of problems. And then there was times he would drop him into coverage, and then you had Pierce looping in. Like, he is bringing so much more to the table. And like, I'm over just bring up Jimmy Lake because it's just 9 day.
It's like beating a dead horse at this point. Yeah,
it's like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, we know how vanilla was. I just love the infusion. Like, and I think just based on just podcasts I've listened to, like Jeff Ulbrich, I think he did get a little stale with the Jets, and kind of like how Dan Quinn had to reinvent himself in Dallas. I think Jeff Ulbrich has taken this time where he's looking across the league and seeing these teams using these varied fronts and crowd the line scrimmage and then dropping two guys and then utilizing twists. He's just taking chances. And look, every now and then it may not materialize well. We saw it then in the first half, but more times than not, he's just making these quarterbacks feel uncomfortable. And that was the big issue with the Falcons last year. Just quarterbacks were way too comfortable. So far this year, the quarterbacks haven't looked comfortable. We've seen Baker airball a bunch of throws last week. Very fortunate not to get picked off. And we saw McCarthy time just look absolutely rattled.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the difference in this game. We're going to continue on that. I want to get to a lot of people been donating, which we really appreciate. I want to get to you guys' questions here. We got NC Hammer. What's up? NC Hammer, the mod man. Thank you with the $5 saying Romo's Coos dad now. Oh, also, can we talk about the pressure? 6 sacks is crazy. Diablo and Pierce look so good. Red zone offense does scare me. Yeah, it scares me too. But if the defense can play this well, we can get away with a lot. So maybe that's the upside there. And then Alex Foster with the $5 says, I would like to apologize to Jeff Ulbrich. He's a great coordinator and a handsome man. Yes. All of our hate is directed towards, Jeff Ulbrich's son for prank calling. Not any hate directed towards Jeff Ulbrich himself. But we got Crimson Huntsman with the 20 months of being a member. Appreciate you, Crimson. Thank you, man. Says special teams, great defense.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Special teams, great. Yeah.
Or your extension?
Yeah. I mean, I was mad that they kept Mike Ford, and I was wrong. Okay, I was wrong about that. Mike Ford is a special teams god. Now, I'm really glad he wasn't the first man up when A.J. Terrell got hurt on defense. That would have terrified me even more than D. Alford, who was fine. So props to D. Alford.
Just he doesn't want to see Aaron Jones ever again. Let's just say that. I never seen a running back pancake a quarter 10 yards.
No, that was not cool. Like, you can't stop your feet. D, like, what are you doing? You got to take out the blocker. Like, I'm not asking you to go make a space tackle on J.J. McCarthy by yourself, but you got to at least take the blocker out so your other guys can get to him. Like, if you can't hit the quarterback, hit the blocker. Like, hit somebody. Do something. Like, don't get trucked on national television.
That went from an 8-yard gain to a 16-yard gain.
Yeah. It's like, if he just hits that blocker hard, it's fine. But yeah, that was a little rough.
That to me was like the second worst defensive play of the night.
Right, and it wasn't even a first down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So shout out to those guys. We got and Crimson. Yeah, Crimson says, okay, I was reading it wrong. Special teams great. Defense, phenomenal. Offense needs work, but did enough to win. I mean, yeah, the run game was awesome. And, like, honestly, like, the Vikings were just selling out to stop it, and it just didn't matter. Like, they were just I think their go-to is run blitzing. Like, and they've been damn good at it. Like, the Vikings last year were one of the best run defenses in the NFL because of how relentlessly and skillfully they run blitz. But down their best linebacker, the Falcons just ran right at the blitz, and Bijan just avoided it. Like, I mean, I think that's mostly Bijan. Like, the blocking was definitely better too, though, so that does help.
I think Zac Robinson maybe give him a little credit just for like the draws and delays. Like, there were a couple of delayed handoffs that worked pretty effectively, and I would assume he had called that just to pick on it because the Vikings really got caught out doing those double-A gap mug blitzes with like Ivan Pace was just at position constantly. So I think some of the timing of the runs worked well. And I don't know, did it seem like they were running more gap scheme or at least utilizing more different personnel? Like, I don't know how much they use 11 personnel in this game. It didn't seem like it was anywhere near what they usually do. So I do think Zac Robinson made some nice adjustments there. But play action, even screens. Like, I don't know where the Falcons screen game was. I think that could have benefited Panks a little bit. But at least on that, I guess, last notable drive, getting the ball quick to London on slants, just getting that rhythm back, I thought was very key because London was pretty much a non-factor.
Yeah. I mean, the passing game really struggled today. I think it really hurt. Drake London's fumble obviously hurt them because they were just rumbling on that drive, and that was a real momentum killer. And the Vikings,
such a great throw at Penix too.
It was an insane throw. And yeah, I know Penix missed a couple throws tonight too, but the Vikings, their whole thing is they're just going to make the quarterback really uncomfortable. They're going to disguise as a lot. They're going to mix it up with their blitzing. They're going to make life hell, basically, for your quarterback. Like, there's not going to be any easy reads, nothing simple. And this is my attempt to give Zac Robinson the benefit of the doubt. I think they were worried about the pass pro, and they didn't want Penix turning his back to the defense. That's why they didn't run play action. Now, play action can go both ways, right? It does take a little bit longer to get into your pass play, but it can slow the defense down at the same time because they have, especially when you're putting up this type of rushing performance, they have to respect the threat of the run, so they can't just charge the quarterback. And, so I understand the plan coming in was probably like, we can't run play action because we don't trust the offensive line and we don't want Penix getting destroyed when he's coming out of his play fake. But again, it's like, I think you have to be able to do that. Like, you can't just fully abandon the play action like they did today. Because this offense could be so good on play action. I mean, the run game was awesome tonight. Like, and on that, I mean, that's that one particular play to Tyler Algier, and I swear this will be the negative thing, and then that'll be the end of that for tonight, guys. It's like that third and short to Tyler Algier in the red zone. It was like the fourth time in a row they had that play, that down and distance. They ran they ran it to the right this time instead of to the left, but it's like you can't keep doing that. Like,
it was so telegraphed.
You just can't. Like, that was the perfect time. The Vikings sold out 100% for that run. That was the perfect time to hit a tight end leak or anything off of that play action. And
you could do a bootleg under center, like, it's one or two times, like, it would have hurt. And like, Penix has the athleticism, like, that's not like you got out of the pocket.
Yeah, he could bootleg it. He could just run it himself. Like, I mean, we saw that last week. So just bizarre, and like, it worked out for them. They ended up getting the run game going consistently enough to just grind down the Vikings late in this game. But, against a team with a better offense that's more able to withstand what your defense is doing, or if your defense is just having a down day, you're not going to win a lot of games like this. Like, you have to step on the neck, right? Like, you can't win. Like, you can't make a habit of winning like this. Tonight, it's fine. You're on the road. It's a very difficult opponent. You have to be able to win like this, but you don't want to make a habit of it, I guess is all I'm trying to say. And the red zone play calling was not good. The short yardage running, outside of that one Algier run, was much better tonight. Like, they converted a lot
pretty easily,
of short yardage plays. The run blocking as a whole was much better across the board. The run game in general, and Bijan's just special. Like, again, a lot of those plays, guys are getting minimal gains, and Bijan's just slipping out like he's greased up or something. Like, I mean, I don't know what's happening. You just see Bijan just like emerge from like a pile of guys and just slip out of there like they put baby oil on him or something. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm sure that's not allowed. Like, you can't grease up your running back. So I don't know how he does it, but yeah.
He had like a man spin move on Dallas Turner to convert on third and short. And it's just one of those moments. Like, he just has such a great feel for the game. Like, where he just knows how to utilize like the leverage and just understands when the defenders are coming and just evade them. And it was just time and time again. And it was just remarkable. And I think just the fact that they were so dependent on them, and it's like, okay, let's just ride it. Like, we know what he brings, and we know he could carry the load. This is the best way to do it, because I think Dave just wanted to, you had to avoid third and longs against this Vikings defense, because of the crowd, but also we just know the chaos that Brian Flores brings. And that's why, like, I'm not overly concerned with offense, because I just don't think any defense is like the Vikings. And I don't think you could find many defenses better. What, Baltimore, Denver, maybe Philly. Like, besides that, I don't know many defenses that are more intimidating than this Vikings unit. So to me, that's why I think this team is in relatively pretty damn good shape right now. And just the fact that, okay, even though Penix, you want to unleash him, we still could rely on the run game when needed. It's like, we're not going to be stubborn. Like, as much as Zac Robinson would be frustrated with, when he sees a weakness, they're going to capitalize on it. And I do like the fact that they utilize different personnel, because it's just, this was not the game that run 11 personnel. And they even used Kadero Hodge on some plays. I'm like, where was his last week? Like, he's the best blocking receiver. Yep. So it's just little personnel kinks like that. Make those adjustments. Of course, you wish he did last week, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
You got to move forward and use those teachable moments, and credit to him. And I think just different variations, and big ups to Ryan Newsel too. Like, I think he only had one bad moment at Hargrave, but I think a lot of the runs you saw him shine, and you saw him get to the second level quite a bit.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a much better performance by the run game. Like, if they had been able to convert short yardage like this last week, the Falcons would have run away with that game. It was just, they didn't really have a play for it last week. They were just out of sync. You have to think that's just week one rust, and there's no replacement for live game reps in the run game. It's just, you can't you can't replicate it, and that's just one of the things they're gonna have to deal with is some rust. When they don't play in the preseason, it's just you're not gonna get those live reps, and it's gonna sometimes it can lead to slow starts. So,
quick question for you. Obviously, we're gonna focus on this game, but watching all 22 from week 1. I thought the Falcons outplayed the Bucs.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah,
That's why I wasn't too. I was watching this. At first, I thought it was pretty even. I'm like, no, they really should have won this game.
No, I was very mad.
Frustration, but like it's not like this team's in pretty good shape right now.
Yeah, no, they dropped 5 interceptions. Like Baker Mayfield should have had so many interceptions in that game. They dropped them all. This week was a great example of regression because I think the Falcons capitalized on almost every one of their opportunities this week. So it's like you can just see how games can turn on a dime like that. And the Falcons definitely I think outplayed the Bucs last week. We'll see how the Bucs look against Houston. I think the Bucs are still good.
Game.
That's gonna be a good one. But I do think that can be a rough one. So, but
no Tristan Wirfs against Will Anderson, D.L. Hunter.
That's gonna be tough. Yeah, it's gonna be tough for sure. Guys, thanks again for tuning in to the Falcon Live presented by FanDuel, of course. We're gonna keep it going here with your questions and comments. Here we got George Costanza. What's up, George? Welcome back. With the $2 saying Zach Harrison balled out today. He was wreaking havoc. I hope this is a sign of things to come. And I reiterate now that I'm 69% sure, that Zac Robinson is just Dirk Cutter and a face mold. I think he's like the opposite of Dirk Cutter though, because Zac Robinson's like, no, I'm just gonna run every play, and Dirk Cutter was like, no, I'm just gonna pass every play. So they're kind of like the opposite, but yeah, neither one likes play action. That is obvious. So
yeah, I don't know who we could compare Zac Rob to in terms of old offense coordinators.
I don't know.
I think he's in his own lane.
This was very much an Arthur Smith sort of game, that's for sure. Yeah. But unlike Arthur Smith,
not
they actually
jumbo packages though.
No, yeah, that's true. No, that 12 personnel is good for them, like especially because Pitts can give you some wide receiver ability. Like Pitts looks like what they've been hoping for this year, and I know you shouted him at the beginning of the show too. Like he looks more confident, more spry. He's going for these, contested catches. He looks just better in general. He's giving you that quasi receiver ability. He's also giving you more than like a wide receiver's blocking. I know like we grade him like a tight end, but like he just needs to be better than a wide receiver. And now he's giving you better receiving ability than a typical inline tight end and better blocking than a typical receiver. You're kind of seeing like this can be the hybrid role for him that we kind of talked about at times, where you can run 12, but it looks like 11 in some situations because he can run some of these routes or get depth and do like a seam ripper type of route that like a normal inline tight end is just not running. Like you're not like you can run it, but he's going to be, 2 or 3 seconds behind Kyle Pitts and where he's getting on some of these routes. And you could see the catch radius on display today. He had that one sick catch where that was an overthrow, but like it doesn't matter. Like, 'cause Kyle Pitts can just go up and get those type of passes. So big props to Kyle Pitts.
You got to mention the slant on Whitney Merciless. That was the edge rusher on the Texans. Josh Merciless.
Yeah. Metellus.
Josh Metellus.
Yeah.
Whitney Merciless.
Very unique player, Metellus.
I got the Texans on my mind.
Yeah, we just talked about them.
Yeah. But he left. What a nasty release! Like just shook him, and Metellus didn't even move. Like that's how he left him frozen. So I don't think Kyle Pitts has looked this explosive since like early 2022. And I love that you shouted out the other catch he had. And it's just Of course, you want to see him be that security blanket at times because every tight end or hybrid tight end, like you need to make those plays underneath. But if he could win in isolation like that, it just adds a whole new dimension to the offense, and it just gives them more of that playmaking ability. Because as much as we were excited to see Darnell Mooney back, who had minimal impact, it's just you want to have as many playmakers at disposal for a young quarterback like Michael Penix, especially in that environment where this Vikings defense is going to bring it. So you just need as many contributors as possible. Thankfully, they need as much tonight because they dominated the trenches and the run game imposed as well. But, bigger matchups, like, for instance, that Bills game in a couple of weeks, that game probably has shootout material written all over. We're going to need Kyle Pitts, especially against those undersized Bills safeties who, by the way, can't really tackle all that well. And Bijan Robinson should have some fun if he gets against them if an open field. But that's the game right there where you want to see Kyle Pitts really stake his claim and 5-6 catches depending how it goes. And it's just good to see him explosive again because he can really do damage after the catch, and that's where they're going to need him.
Yeah, absolutely. And they need that extra threat, especially if Darnell Mooney's not all the way back. It seemed like they were kind of shying away from him. They were shying away from the passing game as a whole. I'm not sure how much we can draw from that. But, if those guys need a little bit of time to continue to get healthy, Kyle Pitts can soak up the targets. And we've seen so far that he's looked very good on those targets, like better than we've seen in years. So shout out to Kyle Pitts for his efforts there and in the blocking game, which is really important because that was kind of the issue before. Is like we'd like to play 12 personnel with Kyle Pitts, but like it hurts our run game when we do that. And if teams are going to roll out 2 linebackers against you, which they were doing with Pitts because he wasn't really making a lot of plays as a pass catcher either. If he can't block that extra linebacker, then it's a net negative versus being an 11 and getting nickel. So that's changed. Now teams really have to consider if they want to put a linebacker on Kyle Pitts because he's even Metellus, who I think is one of the more like ideal matchups for Pitts. Like he's a very unique sort of linebacker safety hybrid that plays the slot for the Vikings. Like Pitts like beat him a couple times and it's not like he had a crazy game. But like that is a really good sign that Pitts has had some success against a guy that I like in theory should be a really good like matchup like against him. So important there. But let me get to a couple more of these donations because you guys keep throwing them at me, which I really appreciate. I just don't want to make. I want to make sure everybody gets their stuff read here. We've got Adrian Russ with the $2. Thank you, Adrian. Says finally got consistent pressure all game long. We've been asking for pass rushers in the draft for so long. It's finally paying off. Shout out to James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker. Our offensive passing game does need some work. Red zone was an issue. Yep, no disagreements there. We've got George Costanza once again with the 2. He's dropping some Panther shade. All right, the Panthers looked like shit until the fourth quarter when Arizona played like a 2-pack of ass. There we go.
Don't get started Arizona.
Yeah.
Look, oh god, that game was disgusting. That game was a slap in the face of football.
That was bad. That was real bad. He says, "Do we think Carolina is a threat?" No, I don't. Yeah. No, really. I think Carolina just crapped the bed, or excuse me. Well, Carolina crapped the bed too, but yeah, Arizona just like went full on meltdown at the end of that game, just like the Bears did against the Vikings, and that was not a good sign for the Vikings that they had to win like that either, and I don't think it's a good sign for the Panthers.
That officiating crew should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah.
As well.
That was the only reason they even had a chance was just how much they inserted themselves in that final drive. So, but yeah, George says, I think we can be 3-1 with Buffalo coming in. Let's go. That would certainly be nice. I would like that. We got Tony C with the $5. Thanks, Tony. Says Zac Robinson exercising his right to bear arms with all that pistol. Yeah, the man loves him some pistol. There's not. It's
a great line.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are like mad about the pistol. I honestly don't care if they run pistol or shotgun or under center. I think you should mix it up personally, but like running pistol is not a problem. It's the like a play action that's the problem. Like you could and they did, I think, do a better job of like diversifying what they were running out of the various formations. They certainly ran a lot more out of every formation tonight, but I know a lot of people are getting hung up on the pistol, and it's like I think personally that the bigger issue is the lack of play action as opposed to just like the pistol itself. Like the Ravens are a heavy pistol team. Obviously that offense doesn't have any issues. It's not really the pistol that's the issue. So, I like diversifying and having a lot of stuff in your tool belt, but I wouldn't get too hung up on the pistol thing. Not saying that you were, Mr. Tony. Like I know you were. That was a great line. I appreciate that. Just people in general. We got George again with the $2. Thank you, George. George is on one tonight. Says Allen is using his headset more than Raheem Morris. Not gonna lie. How hard was it to call halfback slam until Minnesota stops it? Yeah.
All right. There's been a lot of Raheem Morris slander tonight. Like, what did he do wrong?
I think this is Zac Robinson's fault. Okay.
Yeah. Like Raheem Morris literally listened to everybody. He said, "Okay, no more Younghoe Koo." He brought so far bringing back Jeff Ulbrich looks like a boom. The decisions to start Bowman Jr. and Watts have been a huge hit. Like, where has he really gone wrong so far? And by the way, we have not mentioned the fact that I can't recall a single negative moment from Elijah Wilkinson. Maybe on the All-22 we'll see a missed block here or there, but Elijah Wilkinson held his own. So far, putting Elijah
against John Greenard most of the night too. Like that's not an easy matchup.
Yeah, and by the way, not to continue going off on rest, but good Lord, how on earth was that a holding call?
Yeah, you can't call that.
Offside. It's insane.
Yeah.
But you know what? Bijan Robinson said, all right, you want to do that? I'm going to go get 7 yards. It's not even going to matter because Bijan Robinson was on one.
No, he had to grab him. Like, shout out to Wilkinson. Like, he had to, like, if he hadn't grabbed him, that's a free shot at Penix. You can't allow that. But yeah, the refs should have kept that flag in the pocket given what happened. So
other than some bad moments in the second half against the Bucs, so far Elijah Wilkinson has been a success. I thought he was solid in the first half against the Tampa, and tonight there's nothing really wrong from him. So
no, just that one false start, but that was I mean it happens. I mean, this is a loud ass stadium. Like I don't mind a false start here and there on the road in a super hostile primetime game environment. Like it's gonna happen. I hate it at home when there's literally no noise at all. Like that's a lot less acceptable to me. But yeah, Wilkinson second game false start. Okay.
Yeah. So to me, that's another great decision. Raheem Moore Spade. So far, like all his mistakes last year, he's kind of hit on like the right personnel moves so far. So I don't know. Look, give Raheem Moore some love, man. I feel like he's taken a lot of slander, understandably so. But so far, you want to see adjustments. That's what the top coaches do, and he's done it so far.
Yeah. No, shout out to Moore. Like, I think this has been, like, fine. Like, I don't think we've seen any, like, egregious mistakes by the coaching staff or, like, game management issues or anything like that. Has it been super clean? Like, not really. No. Definitely not. But, this is a tough place to play clean football. Like, if you're going to – I'll give you a little bit of a pass in Minnesota. I mean, you guys could hear it. If you had your audio on TV, you could hear it. Like, this is not like you can't replicate that in practice. You can't pump in enough crowd noise to replicate that. So like, I was being harsh on him too because it's frustrating to watch, but like that's something that's why home teams get like 2.5 points in the spread, right? Because especially these teams with a great home field advantage, like it's tougher to play there. It makes a difference. And the Falcons survived it, managed it, and it was okay. But yeah, it was a little dicey at times, but yeah, I wouldn't be getting on Raheem at this point. Like I think at this point, like you said, Alan, like the one thing I will always give Raheem credit for is that he has been pretty decisive, like in making changes over the course of this offseason, like changing things that didn't go well last year. Immediately decided to move on from Jimmy Lake. That was a great decision. He needed to. Stuck with him too long, but made the right decision. Didn't waver at all on Penix. After Penix came in, we didn't hear a single word about Kirk Cousins coming back in the lineup. Some coaches waver on that stuff, especially when you're not winning a bunch of games. Obviously Morris made the right call sticking with Michael Penix. And then like some of the biggest issues from last year, they didn't play their rookies. They stuck with Younghoe Koo. Obviously they made a big mistake sticking with Younghoe Koo this year. They're going to pay for it financially, but they only made that mistake for 1 week on the field. They went out and got a guy, Parker Romo, the new hero of the Falcons. And Romo's obviously a big upgrade there that you can feel a lot better about kicking for you. And again, very decisive, made a mistake, but made a quick change to fix it. Like, didn't play the rookies last year, had bad results. This year, we're playing everybody. Get them all out there. We need these guys to get snaps immediately. And it's all like, I mean, these are quick decisions that this season that are making, I think, a big difference. And like, coaches are going to have down years. It's how you bounce back. Like, do you fix the things that are wrong or do you ignore them? And I think Raheem has fixed a lot of the things that I had criticisms of last year. And hiring Jeff Ulbrich, like, he screwed up the Jimmy Lake hire. Nobody's arguing that, but seems like he hit on the Jeff Ulbrich hire. So
very well said. Just in general, like, this defense looks so much quicker because last year they were so slow on the edge. They were so slow in the middle of the field. Like, Justice Simmons was just clearly he was aging, and then the linebacker play was slow. It just seemed like this defense was not only the lackadaisical play calling that was so vanilla. It seemed like this team was lacking juice across all three levels, and just this infusion of talent. And definitely someone we got to give more recognition to. He didn't make the same level of high impact plays he made last week because I don't think he really had to. But once again, Divine Diablo just taking on blocks the run game, always in the right place at the right time. I've been completely wrong about him. I wasn't thrilled about the signing. It seems like, wow, he could develop into that the truth every down linebacker that this team needs, that has the range and coverage and that could take on blocks. Because look, we all love Kate Ellis, but we know he's limited. Divine Diablo gives you that guy that just has that range that you need from a linebacker. And how have you felt about him? So I'm curious about you. What were your thoughts on the signing initially, and how have you been impressed by him so far?
I thought he was a very interesting signing. They went out and gave him a lot of money, like right off the bat, paying him like a good starter. And to me, I was a little puzzled by it. I mean, I've always been a fan of Divine Diablo. Like, I was a fan of him coming out in the draft. I thought he was always like a strong safety. And like when he converted to linebacker, I actually thought it was really intriguing because he was always a big hitter. And I think he just didn't quite have the range for safety. But at linebacker, he actually has really good range relative to what you'd expect from a linebacker. And look, Jeff Ulbrich just has a way with this type of linebacker. Like, this is his guy. Like Deion Jones. I'm drawing a blank on the Jets guy, but he just got
Smallwood.
Yeah, whatever his name is. Smallwood's a deep cut. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Williams. Yeah. So like,
wait, am I getting the upside wrong? Was he a free agent?
No, there was what's his name that had the big. He had a big year for the Jets last year. Their linebacker.
His name Galvin Smallwood, right or no?
No, Smallwood was the Falcons like seventh rounder.
I'm really butchering names.
No, I was like, oh wow, that's a deep cut. Yeah, that's a really deep cut.
All right, who's the Jets linebacker?
Well, someone's gonna tell us. Someone will tell us. But you guys know what I'm talking about. But that type of guy, like undersized line.
Sherwood.
Yeah, Sherwood. Yeah.
Because he was linked with the Falcons in free agency.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Sherwood.
I'm sorry, folks.
No, that was a really deep Falcons lore cut right there. Y'all and Smallwood. Legendary name. Unfortunately, not legendary on-field results. But shout out to Yahweh Smallwood. Hope he's doing well. But yeah, that type of linebacker, like Ulbrich just knows that linebacker. He needs one, and he's gonna make that guy into like an All-Pro. Like that's what happens there. And yeah, I mean, he went out. He's like, Diablo, this is my guy. This is who I want for this role. He looks just tailor-made for what the Falcons need him to do, and he gives them so much more like range and sideline to sideline ability, and he pops guys too. Like that's my biggest issue with JD Bertrand is like he's usually in the right place, but he just doesn't have any pop when he arrives. Divine Diablo has pop, like and he uses it very well. So shout out to him. He had a godlike pass breakup on one play that was really critical, and he's been like one of the biggest positive stories. So yeah, I think in like I think it was like a roster show or something in the summer, I was like, Divine Diablo is kind of like the biggest wild card right now for the defense because I don't think anyone has super high expectations, but the Falcons clearly do, and they really need that type of linebacker, someone to step up in that role, and Divine Diablo looks like exactly what they needed. So right now it looks like a home run, and like that price, given what he had been before, was high, but given what he looks like now, it looks like an absolute bargain for 2 years. So, kudos to the Falcons for like, and I think this is Ulbrich. He was like, this is the guy I want. He's what we need. Just pay him what it takes to get him to sign immediately, and don't risk losing him. And I think that ended up being a really, really good decision. So shout out to Divine Diablo. He's been one of the stars so far. I mean, just consistently making plays every single game.
So yeah, and also I mentioned because I think this kind of set the tone for the game. But how about Knight Ellis on that QB sneak on fourth time? Couldn't have timed this jump any better. He just anticipated that, and he just like crushed McCarthy. He's like, "You are not getting this first down." Like Knight Ellis has this uncanny ability to make the most crafty plays that you at least expect. That it just it seems like every defensive player on the team had some sort of contribution at some point. If anyone didn't do, like Jesse Bates is probably the one quiet player. I can't recall Jesse Bates having a moment. Or like Mike Hughes, but kind of like Elijah Wilkinson. I think the fact that Mike Hughes was quiet is probably a good thing. Because that means there was just no bust.
No, I agree. You don't really want your corners having their names called unless they're picking somebody off. So, and shout out to D. Alford for not having his name called after that play where he got trucked. So that was good. I was very concerned about that, how that would go. Personally, I feel more comfortable with Natrone Brooks, but Falcons seem more comfortable with Alford. Hopefully, it'll be a short absence for Terrell. I mean, we'll see. Obviously, hamstring, you don't want to hear that, but to get the update on that at some point. But
early bye week does benefit them now.
Yeah.
I know people were not happy with the early bye week, understandably so. You kind of want to layer bye week, but I mean, if he's out for 3 weeks, he only misses 2 games, and one of those games is against the Panthers. You have to take that. Yeah,
we'll hope for the best there. You wonder if like CJ Henderson gets the call up because they really need that guy with size. And we'll see how the Falcons sort of decide to manage that. Hopefully it's minor. Hopefully he can be back at practice this week, but they may want to also be pretty careful with that hamstring injury and be, those tend to linger and sometimes get re-aggravated. And we don't want, it wouldn't be worth risking Terrell for the season for the Panthers game, in my opinion.
Yeah, and especially with a bye week coming up, take every precaution. And
they will, I imagine, that they've typically been pretty conservative with the injuries. But Yeah, got even more donations. We got Gear Trail 95 with the $5 saying, if I have to criticize something, it's the Pass Pro. They've really struggled with the stunts, I think, but other than that, I think they've been fine. Like, you have to keep in mind they're dealing with 5 rushers on almost every play. That's pretty tough for an O-line. So yeah,
I think it's purely on Matthew Bergeron right now.
yeah,
I think the rest of the offensive linemen fared pretty well. I think maybe Jalen Redmond, who I think could become a star in this league. I think maybe got Lindstrom once, but I thought the tackles are fine. I just think Bergeron, similar to Bucks game, if you watch it, you just lay on everything, and he got caught out a few times tonight. So I don't think one player's deficiency should be placed on the entire offensive line. I do think Matthew Bergeron has been disappointing so far.
yeah. Bergeron's really struggled with these two defenses. Hopefully, he can bounce back here, and have a stronger, stronger game going forward, because they really do need him. They need everybody on that line to stay healthy and play up to their expectations, because they're already missing, Caleb McGarry, so that's already a change that we've had to deal with. But Wilkinson's been better than I think anyone could have hoped for at this point. So he's been Storm Norton level serviceable. So that's more than I was expecting, certainly.
That's a hell of a term right there.
Yeah. So he's been Storm level, which look. If you can have that as your third tackle, that's better than pretty much everyone in the NFL. If you can have that level of play, look at Justin School. That's the Viking swing tackle. He was not having a good time tonight. That man. The Falcons were not being kind to him. That is for sure. So shout out to the Falcons for actually taking advantage of a backup offensive lineman, though. I think the Bucs knew better than to put Charlie Heck out there against these guys. So they made the right call there. But yeah. We got Jason Games with the $2. Thanks, Jason, saying, shout out to the Falcons defense for getting 6 sacks on the night, 1 forced fumble by Zach Harrison. The game ball, of course, goes to John Parker Romo for going a perfect 5 of 5 on field goals, which is the best debut ever for a Falcons kicker. Koo was the previous record holder with 4 for 4, including a 54-yarder. Koo is probably going to be released tomorrow. Yeah, probably. Yeah, that writing's been on the wall, but yeah. If you didn't know before, now we know now. So
yeah. I want to mention another player in terms of the whole defensive line. His team had 6 sacks. 1.5 was from Brendan Dorless, who I thought made some nice contribution as well. He just seems like a guy with such a relentless motor. But I noticed, I think in the base packages, they had him and Harrison at times playing off the edge. So do you think he's capable of just being like that edge defender at times?
I think so. I back when I was doing my roster projections, I wondered if they would have Dorless as sort of like a hybrid, big end / 3 tech. And we did see that a little bit. And same with Zach Harrison, who I thought played more edge tonight, which I like. I think he's just a better edge rusher. But again, he has that flexibility. He can kick inside if you need it, but I think he's better as a big end where you're asking him for a power rush and you're asking him to hold the point of attack. And I think he did both really well. You just need to get in there and occupy blockers. And then if you can get to the quarterback, that's all the better. And he absolutely did. He was unblocked, and you saw this is not just an interior guy playing edge. This is a former edge rusher, very athletic. That explosion off the ball was what helped him get that strip sack. So props to him. And I think Dorless, like you said, I thought Dorless looked really good. He also looked like he was kind of feeling himself in a good way. He was cackling at the Vikings after their false start and all that, which I love to see that. The very next play, he almost had an instant tackle for loss too. So he was really feeling it. So that's one thing about a game like this is the Falcons defense so rarely has had mojo. You know what I'm saying? They have just been the butt of every joke. The pass rush is the worst in the NFL. They're just going to give up the game at the end. We know they can't hold a lead, all this. They need some of these mojo games where they just beat the shit out of somebody and just dominate. I don't remember the last time the Falcons defense had a game like this where they just dominated them the whole time, except for one play before the half. That was the only play for the Vikings all game.
I want to reiterate though, against a good team, they did this against the Giants last year, but no one's gonna count that. This is against a 14-win team, and I look, people can say what they want about McCarthy, but they absolutely rallied him. And also, other than the one breakdown, they kept Justin Jefferson largely in check, and I'm excited to see the all 22 how did they do it? Was it more zone? Because I think once Terrell went out, I can't imagine them playing man too much. So
No, yeah.
yeah. So considering the adjustments they've made, you just have to be thrilled about it. And just the fact that literally every defensive lineman had their moment to shine. And it was like an equal effort. Like there wasn't just one player. Like we didn't highlight like that. To me, my favorite. Like let's talk. Like you know what's exciting right now? We could talk about what was our favorite sack. And
there's multiple to choose from.
Yeah, I love the James Pierce one personally because I love how he used the rip move. He was twisting inside and he beat a fellow rookie in Donovan Jackson. Like that was just a really cool moment. What was yours? Was it Jalen Walker or something else?
Yeah, I like the Jalen Walker one. I you could tell how much I've like rewatched it because I was like, yes, in this part he did this and he did this move and all. So, I was like really watching that one over. That one was on repeat. I think that was before a timeout. I was like, ooh, give me that one. Yeah, I want to watch that over and over again. I think that's kind of, you can see the things that make Jalen Walker special with his sort of like linebacker frame playing edge. That was a Micah Parsons-esque sack where he's like, you could tell he's undersized, but it just doesn't matter. And because he's a little bit smaller, he has the change of direction that those bigger DNs just don't have. Like he can dip under and stand up straight and go right back to the quarterback. And those like 6'5" big edge rushers, they can't do that. They have to kind of turn the arc. And it's like you'll get quarterbacks that just kind of can step up or escape. And Walker he just kind of transitions to a linebacker so quickly. It just goes in and makes a tackle, as opposed to some of these guys where, they need a clean line to the quarterback because they can't change direction like a linebacker can. And so that's what makes Jalen Walker special. And we saw a flash of it tonight.
You think that's why they used the Micah Parsons comparisons for him?
Yeah, I'm guessing so. I mean, that's who you're hoping he is. Yeah, that's what you're hoping he becomes if he wanted to play full-time edge rusher. I do wonder what his like full-time role is. If he plays mostly edge or if they do more of like, my other thought is he might be like the Caden Ellis replacement eventually, but more like what we saw Caden Ellis do in this game where he was lining up on the edge like half the time. So, I think Walker's got a lot more athletic upside than Ellis does. He's also not as big, but, it's just, I'm really curious to see how they do like fully deploy him, because I think that was always my biggest question with him, not the level of talent or the athleticism or anything like that. It's like you have to kind of make a role for a guy like this, and how well you do it will kind of determine how effective he is for you. And, hasn't had much of an opportunity yet, but impact play tonight, which you love to see.
Maybe there could be a few reps where he could spell Diablo or Ellis, but like those two are just so valuable. Like you can't take them off the field, and they bring so much as blitzers. So that's why I don't think we really could see Walker as like a stand-up blitzer unless they want to take one of them off just to give him a rest. But besides that, you're right. I think he's probably the long-term replacement for Ellis. So we just have to see him develop as a pure edge rusher, which you want to see because this is what they drafted to be. Like Falcons desperately need edge rushing up. So hopefully we see him continue to progress. I don't think we talked enough about Billy Bowman yet, and he had an eventful night.
Yeah.
Had 2 picks. Probably should have allowed a 60-yard touchdown to Jalen Naylor, which I think he just got kind of lost a little bit there. A lot of tough 3rd and 18 dealing. So it was a bit uneven, but the highs are highs. And I know you love Billy Bowman coming out, huge ball hawk. What'd you make of his performance?
Yeah, I mean, I love the confidence that he plays with. It did like bite him a little bit, I think, on that big touchdown that he should have given up. Just a little too aggressive playing that route. And we saw Xavier Watts do the exact same thing on the, just like it on those deep passes. Like it's just about getting depth. Like I know it's like it would be great to pick that off, but it's more important to prevent the long catch. So you just can't get beat deep, especially when you're playing basically solo coverage, which he was. The Falcons have trusted these guys like an extreme amount. It's like, yep, Billy Bowman 1-on-1, go for it. Like it's okay. But I think ultimately he had a good game. We saw that he's fearless getting in there against the run. Had some excellent coverage reps. You can see how he just absolutely shut down that quick out with the pick. You love that. That's that closing burst and the hands. The Falcons were missing that from the slot last year, and it's critical to playing that position at a high level. You have to be able to threaten that route, or teams will just do it over and over against you. We saw that last year, where like the Falcons just weren't able to stop that quick out or those like 5-yard, type of completions. They just didn't have the burst, or that they had the corners aligned in a bad way. They just didn't really contest them. But Bowman's able to contest those routes, and that helps the defense out so much when you're not just going to get picked apart by those little 5-yard routes up and down the field.
Exactly. And I think Baker was barely over 50%. I think McCarthy was like 11 for 21 tonight. So far, both quarterbacks they faced have. Like last year, I think the Falcons allowed 70% passes to be completed. That is not exaggeration. They were the worst defense in that category. So far this year, they're making quarterbacks earn their completions. So I think it's just so refreshing to see. And Bowman just one of those guys. I love the way he just like recognizes the routes too. Like the way he closed on it for the interception. And then the second one he should have pick on. It's just the way he reads the quarterback's eyes, and it's just you love seeing these young players have such high football instincts. And I think that's another thing besides the speed and the physicality and the ball skills. It's just that's what we're getting at both Bowman Jr. and Watts. It's just they have high football IQs.
Yeah,
that's why Jerry Gray was raving about them so much going into the season.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like at a certain point, I think they just figured out that they're like, yeah, we're just going to go with Billy Bowman. Like, it was kind of unceremonious. It was just sort of like, okay, he's not playing in the preseason anymore. I think we know what that means, you know? And it was just kind of like, yep, that's who we're going with. So good for him.
You saw him early in camp getting first team reps, correct?
Yeah, a little bit. They were like really rotating that sort of like nickel spot. Like they were not, no one really had the upper hand there. They played Natrone Brooks a lot there too. But yeah, I think they were clearly like giving him an opportunity along with Xavier Watts to like earn their spots. And yeah, it seemed like they locked them up before the preseason was even over. So I think that's good. And I obviously Watts had the game ending touchdown. That was a little bit easier than the one that Bowman got. That was a horrible throw by JJ McCarthy, who I wish Adnan was here so he could, I'm sure he would deliver like a JJ McCarthy hate sermon right now. Like just like, oh, this dude is trash, you know, and all that. He's so overrated. And like, yeah, I mean, Vikings fans, shout out to my buddy Thor Nystrom, who is like probably the biggest JJ McCarthy guy. I'm sure that this was a rough day for that brand today, but it's only 2 games. See a long way to go before the story is written on JJ McCarthy. But
it's good the Vikings finally could be off primetime for a bit, because I think opening the season with 2 primetime games with essentially a rookie quarterback, not ideal circumstance, and 2 very intense environments. Obviously, both ends of the spectrum, but like starting to open a year with the Bears franchise that feels very. I know things are looking awful right now, but they were rejuvenated going into that Week 1 game, and then today it's just like they were really high stakes for McCarthy, and so far it's about 1 good quarter.
Yeah,
it didn't happen against the Falcons, so
thankfully, yeah, that was the Bears. After I watched the Bears give up 45 to the Lions, I was like, oh, this Vikings offense might not be very good right now. Like they couldn't do anything against this Bears defense before the 4th quarter. Okay, that's not good.
But at least they hope. That's not very but the fact that look, Derishaw and Aston, I think are 2 guys that can really help things out. Like it's not this Derishaw's up there as the best left tackle. I think Addison's one of the most explosive of the 2. So it's going to really just fall on McCarthy, because I think we know Kevin O'Connell at this point. Kevin O'Connell's one of the best coaches in the league. What he's done. So it's really going to fall on McCarthy to see where they end up. But look, who knows? Given how the season goes, this game we were talking about last week about like tiebreakers. Like this game can matter huge for tiebreakers if it comes to wild card. So
yeah, this is really significant. Yeah.
Like same goes for the Washington game in 2 weeks, because I think it's pretty certain the Eagles are going to win that division. So you just take these games week by week, but like the more you stack up these wins against the NFC, not just any NFC team, but NFC teams that made the playoffs last year. Like, we look at the Vikings and then soon to be Commanders. So hugely impressive, and it's just you don't see things come like coalesce like this. Like the fact that I'm just so amazed, like because there's so much talk about this draft class, and like it was excitement, but there was also real trepidation just because of how aggressive they were. And just for a second game of the year, big primetime slide, all 4 making high impact plays.
You love it.
Yeah, it's just like I really want to know what Terry Fontenot is doing, because he's had to eat so much for the last 4 years. Like I just want to know, like, what's Terry Fontenot? What's he doing right now?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing you can give him props for is he never stopped swinging. Like, I mean, I think guys, when they try to get too conservative or whatever, you know, you kind of lose it. And like his sort of modus operandi to speak is like just balls to the wall. Like I'm going to go get the guys that I want, and I don't care if I have to trade future picks or whatever. It hasn't worked out a lot, but you know, Penix obviously was a bold decision that looks like that's going to work out. Going for these 2 edge rushers in the same draft, bold decision. Looks like that's going to work out. You pick up a 3rd-round pick as a part of a trade-up, which genius move. You get Xavier Watts with it, even more genius move. And then you go draft Billy Bowman, and it's like, yeah, what did Arthur Blank say? I want 4 starters. Yeah, like that's where we are. We got 4 starters right now. Like, so I mean, in week 2, it didn't even take the whole season. So, look, you can't stop swinging. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah,
right. So, Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. But I like that he's hitting now. Like, like if you're gonna miss, at least start hitting now. Like anytime you could start hitting would be good. So
even we got mentioned of Rook too. Like Rook gets his first sack. I know it was kind of like a cleanup sack. That's another thing. Like I know, look, they deserve all credit in the world defensive front today, but there were about 2 coverage sacks. So I hope the secondary gets its due.
Yeah, for sure.
Because besides the one breakdown with Jefferson and maybe the one with Naylor, like they really held it together. I know the Vikings are undermanned, but like I forgot T.J. Hawkinson was playing tonight, and we know how much of a threat Hawkinson could be. So that's just another example where I think there were real times where like McCarthy had no options. And he just had to take the sack, and I think they did a good job of neutralizing his ability to scramble outside of the Aaron Jones pancake. Like you didn't really see a play where McCarthy really made them pay.
Mm-hmm. No, I think they just did a great job covering pretty much everything that the Vikings wanted to throw at them, except for that one pass that they gave up to Justin Jefferson. So, other than that,
the game was so good. I'm not even going to break.
I don't even care. I don't even care.
It's just covered.
It was a field goal. Who gives a shit? Yeah, so. A field goal and a 22-6 blowout. I'm fine with that. But ideally we don't do that. But I'm sure they don't have. That's one of the things they can look at this week. I'm sure. All right, we got a few more donations to get through here. I know, Alan, you got to take off here in a minute.
I'm so excited, but we do have that in 10 minutes.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing that. Yeah, I know you guys got probably stuff to do on Monday too. It's 12:30. Shout out to the primetime games. But we got Thomas Alexander with the $5 says, now that we've seen 2 games, what are we feeling about Carolina next week? I'm feeling confident, to say the least. You should feel confident against Carolina. If they can't beat the goddamn Panthers, then we're back to square one. So they better go out there and beat the shit out of the Panthers, in my opinion. So,
I mean, 200 yards rushing, over under. I think that's a pretty sizable standard.
Yeah, and 2 Panthers offensive linemen were going in for MRIs after the game, and Robert Hunt in particular looked pretty despondent. So that's 2 starters now. And like Cam Ekwonu just Corbett. Oh. So Corbett and Robert Hunt both getting MRIs, and Cam Ekwonu just got back into the lineup, so like he's a little rusty too. So it's just, that's not a good situation. Now that the Falcons actually have a pass rush, I actually care about other teams' offensive line injuries. So it's a new experience for me. But we're going to be monitoring offensive line injuries much more closely now. The Falcons have some semblance of a pass rush. We got DY with the $2. Thank you, D, saying, will Zach bring out the best in Michael Penix Jr.? Probably not. But I think Zach, I'm hoping Zach will be fine. That's kind of where my hopes and dreams rest with Zac Robinson. He will ultimately be sort of fine the rest of the year. I think we still have a ways to go with the maturation of Penix in this offense, but I'm going to reserve judgment, and not like hone in too much on the Vikings defense in particular, because the Vikings defense is like uniquely difficult and like really annoying to deal with for an offensive coordinator. So like I will give them a pass for not using play action this week, because they were so dominant on the ground and because they ground out. The defense was good enough that you could afford to not take chances, right? So okay. But yeah, we need to see it like now, next week against the Panthers, like unleash the fury. All right. Like we got to do, like, let's go here. But this week you get the pass, dominant run game. I think they focused all their efforts on like getting this run game where it needed to be. And clearly that was a good call. But now we need to get the passing game where it needs to be, and we need to diversify a little bit. So
I also think it's important that Penix didn't have any turnovers, and I can't recall any turnover-worthy plays. Like the Falcons had 1 turnover because of a great punch-up by the backup linebacker on London. But to be Penix played a clean game. I think the only thing you really knocked Penix for, maybe he held on the ball a little too long, 1 or 2 inches, and I do think he may have a slight issue throwing intermediate to deep passes to his right. Like I thought he missed McLeod pretty badly, and I think if you remember watching that Washington game last year, he had about 5 misses there. Yeah. So maybe, and I think if you look at his PFF numbers, he was pretty inefficient when it came to throwing to his right deep or even an intermediate error. So just slight thing to monitor. But overall, if you want to look at the first two games, I think you have to be pleased with Penix, and you have to be thrilled about his week 1 points. And tonight was just about just damage control. That's it. And make a few timely plays here and there. And it was good to see him get back on track with London at the end of the game. I think the offense needed that to finally get in the end zone.
Yeah, that was nice. I think the Vikings let them score. I think they were going to score anyway, for the record. So the Vikings definitely let him score. But they were probably going to score on that play anyway. I think he was not going to get stopped. But just got to be better. So Zach got to be better. But you got the dub. So again, if you can get the dub, I'm willing to put up with some ugly play or some mistakes if you get the dub. If you don't get the dub,
the right
exactly. If we're struggling against the Panther, if we're doing a Cardinal situation next week, then then I'll have some more strong words. But for now, you're off the hook. For today, just today, I need to see improvement next week. But this is your pass. Here you go. This is your pass for this week. We got Machine Learning Brilliance with the $5 saying, I fully believe Josh Allen is in for a surprise on Monday Night Football with this defense.
Jeff Holbrook. Now we're getting really spicy.
Okay. Jeff Holbrook
deserves. Did you not watch last Sunday night?
He says Jeff Holbrook deserves a better son. I will call him daddy. Okay, well, I guess you could do that. It's maybe a little weird, but do you? I guess I don't know if Holbrook is into that. Make sure you have his permission before you start doing that.
Can we retire the Jeff Holbrook dad joke? I don't know if it's the right route to take. But...
Yeah, I'm kind of over it. It didn't end up being that big of a deal, thankfully. So, make sure you have permission. Before you do anything like that. That's I'd be crossing a line.
Yeah. How has there not been one joke yet? Come on, chat room. We haven't had one John Parker Romo Leonard Floyd joke yet. Come on, that was such a hilarious interview. They better have lunch tomorrow. They better become buds after this.
Yeah, this is like the start of a great bromance or something like that. So good for them. But we got Patty Vegas with the 5 saying, if you stop and listen, you can hear the sound of Peter Parker Romo jerseys flying off the shelves. We are all the way back. Yeah, just gonna swap the Coup jerseys for the Romo jerseys, and it's gonna be crazy. So
the Falcons have built legends at the kicker position.
Yeah,
there is a lineage of legendary kickers. So if he's
this could be the start of the John Parker Romo legend. Tonight we saw it. So everybody here, remember where you were when John Parker Romo had his NFL emergence. We got Take Care Man with the $2 saying, give the game ball to Charlie Werner. Charlie Werner did play a lot better. John Parker Romo gets the game ball. All right, but Charlie Werner did play much better this week. So shout out to him. But yes. Alan, it's late. We're going to go to bed, guys. You should too. If you can after getting all jazzed up. But Alan, appreciate you hanging out with us late tonight. Appreciate, of course, FanDuel for hanging out, of course, sponsoring tonight's episode. And I did want to hit one odd real quick because it was notable. Before this game, Alan, the Falcons were 2.5-point favorites on the road in Carolina, which, remember, guys, they're on the road, so Panthers get 2 points. Now, since the time that I looked before the game and now on FanDuel, all right, the Falcons are 3.5-point favorites. So that line has already started to move over the course of this game. So shout out to FanDuel for the odds. And I think that line's probably going to move even more, Alan. By the time we get there, that's my opinion. But anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up tonight?
No, enjoy this. Embrace this victory. These are the wins that you have to savor, especially when you support a team that has not made the playoffs in so long. So embrace this moment. I look, people harp on the Vikings with McCarthy and injuries, but that's still a really damn good team. And the Falcons won in convincing fashion. And they have a platform now defensively that they could build on it. And after defensive performance like that, you would think you could give a game ball to one of the defense players, but everyone equally did great. So it's very hard to single out one. If you want to single out Divine Diablo, cool. If you want to single out James Pierce, understandable. But to me, it was just such an equal effort. So that's why it's just one of those wins where it just when it's a true team win, you gotta love it. And if anyone deserves a game ball, it's probably Bijan, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
think about it, I just
yeah.
realized, like, yeah, it's Bijan,
I'm
but-
like, I'm like, after last week with the kicking, it's like a kind of like we just need like Romo like gets it just because we just desperately needed the kicking game to be better. But yeah, Bijan was the MVP. Like if Romo gets the game ball for his critical performance, Bijan was the MVP. Yeah, so without a doubt. So, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Appreciate everyone. Appreciate all the donations. We got George with the under the wire here. George with the 2 says, "Can we talk about Minnesota's punter? He was hitting bombs. He was hitting some great punts. There's no doubt about that. Thank God Natrone Brooks caught those. I was getting kind of nervous with that, how like those booming punts that did not look easy to catch. So shout out. But thank you guys so much for hanging out here with us on the Falcon Live, presented by FanDuel, of course. We also will have more shows for you guys this week. A little bit of a possibly different schedule. I'll be on with Trayshawn for Tuesday Takes. And depending on if my flight arrives like in a timely manner, which, kind of a crapshoot. If you guys have flown recently, you understand. If it arrives on a timely manner, then we will do a Falcon Live on Wednesday. Otherwise, we will be having a game preview for you guys, and then of course we'll be back for post-game coverage of week 3 against the Panthers. I don't want to go back to week 1 again. We're past that, but so stay tuned for that. We'll give you guys updates as they come in. Thanks again to Allen Strk at Allen Strk on Twitter for all his contributions. Co-hosted tonight, doing the late shift. I'm Kevin Knight at Falcon. Kevin, like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review in your podcast platform of choice. Both those really help us out. We're trying to get to 10K subs this season. We're getting close to 9. So if you guys want to help us get over the edge, please do. And
I'll give it until November. That's my prediction.
Okay. Yeah, I respect it.
It's gonna happen in November. I'm not putting it.
All right. I like it. I like the positivity. Shout out to almost 600 of you that joined us tonight. Much more fun. We all like to have our little group therapy session after a loss, but it's much better after a win. Let's be honest. Okay, it's much more fun. Much more fun for all of us. So let's hope we can keep those vibes going into week 3 here. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time on the Falcon Live and Dirty Birds and Brews. Have a great night, folks.